It's outrageous predictions. Ohio State against Purdue. It's not over here this time. It's in West Lafayette.
Way over there.
Yeah, way over there. That's west?
Yeah, I think that's northwest.
No, that's north. So
Yeah,
that's like that way.
That's where he pointed.
North that way. I thought he was pointing. He's pointing that way.
No, he pointed that way.
That
He pointed
way.
northwest.
That way.
Not playing Northwestern though. Not Northwestern.
Is Northwestern actually northwest?
Of Columbus?
No. Of like
Precisely. Yeah.
no, of like where it is in Illinois.
Oh no, it's pretty northeast in Illinois.
All right, everything's northwest of Columbus that way. It's just kind of that way. Anyway, they're playing Purdue on Saturday. Okay, here are outrageous predictions. Stefan, get crazy.
I think Bo Jackson's going to have a career high in rushing yards, and maybe not by wide margin. I think his career high right now is like 108, 109. I think he'll get at least 110. I think it's going to be a result of breaking some big plays and really getting some, getting some explosive. We saw Marshall from Michigan. He ended up with like 188 rushing yards last week against Purdue. I don't think Ohio State will go that far because I think you're going to get into some guys that can win the Heisman and maybe getting those guys some numbers in the passing game. But I think Bo Jackson's going to have a chance to break some big runs. I know Marshall had at least one run of 50-plus yards. I don't know what his other big runs were against Purdue last week. But I think overall Ohio State's going to have some chances to break some big plays in the running game. I think Bo Jackson will benefit from that. So he's had 3 games over 100 rushing yards this year. He was when he didn't play against Texas, but then against Grambling in Ohio, he had 100-plus yards in each of those games. He was actually the first running back at Ohio State to have 100-plus yards in his first 2 games of his collegiate career. So, like, he had an impressive and explosive start, and he's been really good since then. Obviously been banged up at times, but he was pretty good against Penn State, had 100-plus yards there. And I think he's going to follow that up with another 110-plus yards against Purdue. So I expect Ohio State's offense to have a field day, and I expect some explosive plays in a running game. So Bo Jackson benefits 110-plus yards, career high for him.
I'm trying to think if J.K. had 100 in his first 2 games. He had 100 against Indiana. I don't know if he did the next week, though, but
Obviously not.
clearly not. J.K., not as good as Bo Jackson, apparently, in the first 2 games. Gillis, get crazy.
Max Clare, 10, 100, 2. 10 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I didn't know what you were saying there.
I think this is a let's feed Max Clare the ball game. I think number one, he's going home to his former school. He's playing at Ross-Ade Stadium again. He's doing the whole song and dance. Max,
Ohio.
I know, but he's going back to where it was home.
It was home at some point.
Sure. I'm just making sure that his home is actually in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, he went to St. X, I know. But I do think that this is that. Like you pair that together with, hey, let's get him a touchdown in his old environment. And I think we talked. Stephen was saying we talked about this with Will Kazmarek when they played OU this year. But I also think this is kind of the right week to get him going too, because I think we talked so much about this tight end grouping, right, and how many tight ends are in the mix. If you want to give a guy confidence, if you want to give a guy just a boost going forward, you have 3 regular season games after the Purdue game, 2 of them before Michigan. Like, if you want to be fully operational when you go to Michigan, I think having the guy that you brought in from the portal as that elite receiving threat, I think having him cooking is going to be a really big benefit for Ohio State, especially considering that, man, when you look at this receiver core, everybody's talking about them, and then you all of a sudden now you have this tight end who he's really starting to get rolling. That, to me, is the big thing. So I think Max Clare's going to have a really, really big day. I think they're going to do it because he's going home to Purdue, where was home for 3 years for him. I think he's going back to where he once resided.
Home is where your heart is.
Yeah, he's going back to where he once lived. And I also think it's just the right time for this because, he's got 21 catches on the year. He hasn't necessarily been this like week in, week out, consistent 4-catch guy that I think some people maybe thought he was going to be. But I
thought that he was going to be that.
I did, but it was also a lot of other people. It wasn't just like he's going to show up and get 8 catches. He's going to show up and have 4 catches and be nothing all year. There were a lot of people, like I think in The Athletic, I think they had him as the number 1 tight end going into the season in the NFL draft. There were a lot of high expectations on him, and I'm not saying those have necessarily dissipated. He's just not getting the ball a lot. I think this is the week to get him going.
There was a certain host of a podcast who said he'd be shocked if he had 30 catches.
Oh, I remember.
Not looking too crazy. He might get to 30, though.
He's got 21 already.
He might get to 30. He might.
He'll get. If Gillis is right, he'll get to 31 on Saturday.
That's true. That's true. But he's in that area right now where I think this is going to be an interesting 4 weeks to see if he can actually pull this off or not. That's a cute story. It's a cute story, too. We saw what they're going to do on offense for the rest of the year against Penn State, and now they got to get these guys to New York. Julian Sand, 350 and 4 touchdowns, where 3 go to Jeremiah and Carnell, and you can decide who gets 2, who gets 1, and then 1 goes to the field. Sound familiar? That was Penn State, and that's what you should expect to see for the rest of this. Because we're here now. Ryan Day's like all in on talking about how good Julian Sand is now, which I think is fun, and talking about his deep ball and all that stuff. I just think the third guy is going to rotate every week. This past week, it was Brandon Ennis who had 4 catches. We saw in the Minnesota game, it was Max Clare who had the 4 or 5 catches. Right, we've seen Will Kazmir, Bennett Christian get involved. The running backs have sometimes been the beneficiary of being wide receiver 3, but Bennett Christian, the Jelani Thurman at times has had. But wide receiver 3 is a rotating door. But wide receiver 1 and 1A are number 4 and number 17. And so everything goes through those guys first. And even they only got 5 and 6 targets on Saturday. And that's because Julian Sand doesn't need 35 passes to throw for 350 yards. He needs like 12 passes because he's going to complete 10 of them, and it's going to be a day. So but they got the more bigger picture here is the next 3 games are stat pad sort of games because you're trying to win Julian Sand the Heisman. And I know he's the favorite right now, but what the next 3 games are building up as much hype, as much momentum as possible within the flow of the game. I'm not saying they're going to force it, but within the flow of the game, get him in a world where when Heisman Trophy voters sit down at noon on November 29th, and they don't need YouTube TV to do it, and they watch Julian Sand, they look at his numbers and go, oh, okay, he's got the numbers. They want to know the narrative. Oh, that's the narrative? That's a pretty cool narrative. And then when he goes in there against Michigan, if they come out there with a win, it's like, oh, cool. Next weekend in Indianapolis, we're going to decide this thing between him and Fernando Mendoza. But this is stat pad time for Ohio State, for Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, because they want them to be Biletnikoff Award finalists and wanted to maybe win the award. But more importantly, for Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith, making sure both of those guys get to New York. That's this week. That's next week. And it's the week after that, then you play Michigan because it's Michigan month. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State at Purdue, its second to last road game of the year. We'll be there. Stefan, Andrew, Steven, see you after the game.